trees. So we don't actually have any baobabs here, but I'm going to take the opportunity to inform you a little bit about. The oldest, largest species of baobabs are thought to be about 4,000 years old, which is incredible. Let me see what else we got here.
Is there a picture there so I could maybe show that?
There's a really big one. Where's the big picture? Oh, yeah. That's a person, and that's only half the tree. Only half the tree. The rest of it's on the other side. So they're huge. Oops. So apparently they grow the fastest in their first 250 years of life, reaching about 2 meters in width, and then after that they grow much slower. So it's very difficult to age baobabs because they don't have rings and whatnot. They're not like other tree species, and it can be affected by how much rains in an area and stuff like that. So a safe guideline is a 5-meter tree, wide tree, is about 1,000 years old. And 8-meter can be over 3,000 years old. That's incredible. And they've got a lot of uses. You can make yogurt out of the fruit. Let me see if we got a picture of the fruit in this book. Yes, we do. There we go. So that's the fruit. It's called a cream of tartar. You can actually suck them. They're quite nice and tangy. And you can make... I've known a chef to make yogurt out of them. And see what else we got here. You can eat the leaves like spinach. Fruit is very rich in vitamin C, so quite good for you. During the First World War, the fruit pulp was used as a substitute for bread yeast for the troops. That's one I didn't know. That's quite interesting. Apparently quite popular these days, which I would have no idea, because of the high vitamin C and vitamin D in the oil from the nut inside the fruit. It's used in body creams, bath and massage oils. That I did not know. The bark is also very fibrous, and you can use it to make fishing nets and ropes and things like that. No. And they've been used as lots of different things over the years. There's a couple, there's one not too far from here it's big enough that, the inside's hollow. There's a bar where you can go have a beer inside it. I've seen one in Mkuni village in Zambia that is a prison. It's got a steel gate across the front. It's for misdemeanors. For the guys who get too drunk on a Friday night and misbehave, they get locked up inside the baobab for the night. And interesting enough, that particular baobab is where one of the original Chief Mkunis had a meeting with David Livingstone underneath that baobab, very close to Victoria Falls. So, and it's now a jail. And then I think there's a couple of others. I've seen one that you can actually drive a Land Rover between. It's growing, but there's a hollow in the section you can drive a Land Rover through. But fascinating tree. We're a little bit too far south for them. They do occur from north of us. They actually can be quite prolific. as well, we continue to check this area for that male leopard whose tracks we found this morning. We're going to hand you over to Scott to see what he's got. So over to Scott.
Welcome back, and this is a beautiful little kudu that we've just seen disappear into some thick vegetation. I'm going to creep forward ever so slightly, and I think there'll be a gap where we can continue to view them as they pass through. There we go. Really beautiful antelope, the kudu, and one of the largest in this area. Very characteristic vertical white stripes, together with those massive satellite dish-like ears. There's also a very big bull that we saw, and he's trailing them. So I'm hoping we're going to get a visual of all the different shapes and sizes of kudu this afternoon. And I'm so happy to hear that there is still a crocodile at Buffalo's Hook Dam. Whether it is the same one that we saw previously or a new one, either way, I don't mind. I'm not sure if Brent was able to establish now that he saw it out the water this afternoon. But he said when he saw it this morning, it was hard to tell whether it was in fact the same one. Good news though nonetheless. Now let's see if the males are anywhere to be seen. I'm hoping he's going to be following the ladies. And we did come back and we found Karula's tracks and followed them to where she drank at Treehouse Dam, which is the same dam where we found her son Djuma, the leopard we were viewing earlier. And she came in this direction, but obviously veered off the road at some point, and that's when it starts becoming tricky to find them, because as you can see in this area, it is very thick, so thick that we cannot see the male kudu that is hiding from us just over to our right. We'll wait a moment or two and see if he doesn't follow the trail of the ladies. Okay, go ahead. Just got a question through from Marga in the Netherlands. Good afternoon, Marga, and welcome on board with us. Marga would like to know whether we think Karula is pregnant. And I think she is, for a few reasons. Judging from the way her stomach actually looks, I think that she could be pregnant. There's an extra kind of bulge or sausage right at the base of her stomach and at the hind parts of her stomach, the back parts of her stomach, and that is characteristic of a female that is pregnant, but it is easy to get it confused when they are full-bellied. I, however, have seen it and think that she could well be pregnant. If I didn't know that she had lost cubs in December or the end of December, then I would be less bold to make a decision. I'm fairly certain that just a few weeks after she lost her cubs, she would have mated again. And that is every animal that's Archer's major goal, to procreate. And as soon as a leopard does lose her cubs, I've seen them mating within a week of losing cubs. Already they start mating again to try and get the next generation into the system. So that would take her to now, if let's say she mated in the middle of January, to be conservative, relatively conservative, 1 month to the middle of February, 1 month into the middle of March, 1 month into the middle of April. That's the 3-month gestation period over. So she would be getting close to dropping her cubs if she did mate around the middle of January. And good question, Marga, all the way from the Netherlands. I hope you're having a great afternoon with us. And while we stopped here, VM can just show you a snake skin that I've just spotted as we've been chatting. And it is common for snakes to use knobbly little bushes to, you can just see it dangling in that dead bush there. Keep going up a bit, up, in, left a bit, there we go. So we're not very close to it here, but you can certainly see that it is a snake skin. And I'm going to go over and see if I can collect it and establish what kind of a snake it is. So hold on one second. Okay. So we've got lucky. This is actually the full skin from head to tail. Now I need to try and turn the head. There we go. That's probably going to work the best. So you can see the very two small eye holes over there, and we'll have a closer look at it to try and establish what kind of snake it is. At first glance, I'm not even going to hazard a guess as to what it could be. I'm not too sure, but you do get experts that can tell just by looking at the certain scales on the head and also the scales along the stomach of what kind of snake it could be. But a perfect skin, fully intact, it's rare to actually find them fully intact. So we've got lucky. I want to put it back here for somebody else to have a look at one day. It looks almost as if it's alive again. Okay. So as I was saying a bit earlier, we did have tracks of a female leopard coming towards us. But I think she veered off the road quite further down. She was full-bellied. She was seen finishing off a duiker kill this morning. A duiker is a small antelope that occurs in this area. And she managed to catch one and consume it. And now could be relaxing just about anywhere, or she could have moved off, who knows. But we did find where she was drinking, and I think her and her son must have just missed one another at the same waterhole. Hard to believe. It would have been interesting. Maybe she saw him and ran off, because she would want to avoid contact with him. He'll be inclined to try and steal her food, and he is bigger than her, so he's certainly capable of doing that. And she's got, in all likelihood, as I've suggested, cubs potentially growing in her stomach, and she needs as much food and nutrition as she can get so that she can nurture them. Craig, are you still going to be heading back to Musikaya? Copy, thanks. So Craig has just popped in at the den site. Craig's another one of the guides in this area, and he did stop off at the hyena den site and it was not active. So we checked earlier on the drive this morning, no luck, and he's just gone back, still no luck. So we'll give it half an hour or so before heading there, and that'll allow us to snoop around here and see if we can't find this female leopard anywhere. I'm searching the road for tracks, and the trees I'm mainly looking in, hoping to find her sleeping in, are the marula trees. They are typically the most comfortable tree in general in this area. They've got very thick horizontal branches, and the leopards love them for that. Go ahead. Angie in Ohio, good afternoon and welcome on board. I hope you're having a great afternoon with us, Angie. Angie would like to know whether Mvula, who is the dominant male leopard of this territory, the father of the leopard we saw earlier, is the biggest male leopard I've ever seen. And he's certainly up there, but I think the biggest one I've ever seen was a male called the Wallingford male. He used to live in the western and southern Sabi Sands. So he's probably the biggest male I saw. He was very old when I saw him, but hugely impressive. Another big one I've seen is the Campan male, who's still around, and he's also south of us in the Sabi Sands. But looks can be deceiving in terms of actual weight. So I've never seen a leopard being weighed, not even one, which makes obviously guessing and choosing which one I think is the biggest tricky. So I think the Wallingford male would be the biggest I've ever seen, but he's no longer. He died probably 5 or 6 years ago at least. But Mvula is certainly a brute. Even between Mvula and Tingana, it's difficult for me to personally say which is bigger. And Tingana is the dominant male to the west of our property. Well, no luck, but what I am going to try and do is show you her footprints where she drank this afternoon, because it's quite clearly depressed in the mud, and we've got good late afternoon sunlight which comes at a low angle, thus casting a good shadow for seeing tracks. When the sun is directly above us and or overcast, tracking can be very, very difficult. So there we can see her pug marks, and those are her 2 front feet nestled right next to one another, and she would have been lapping up the water just in front of her. So wonderful to know that she has been here, and that for me is one of the beautiful things about nature and tracking, is that we saw this leopard. I actually came out after Brent got back from drive and went and spent some time with her, watched her sleeping, and we know we left at about midday, at about 12 o'clock, and she was still sleeping in a tree, and when we came back this afternoon she wasn't there. But now we've got to piece together this puzzle of what she's been up to and which direction she's moved on and where we could potentially find her again. And for me, that really is wonderful. Just thinking of her drinking here, you can just picture it, and that's almost as good as seeing it live. Uh-oh. Come on, Jigga. It's your first day back at work. Don't cause any trouble. Whew. Well done. We would certainly not want Jigga to break after having just got it back this afternoon. Sorry, go again. Neither. Try Brent. I'm just going to update everyone that I'm now moving out of the area where we have been searching for Karula, and that way other people just know that there isn't anybody here. So if they are interested in desperately finding a female leopard or a leopard of any sort, this would be a good place to come and snoop around. Stations, I'm going to be moving out of the area. Karula's last track set west away from Treehouse Dam on Treehouse Road. And the plan now, everybody, just to keep you in the loop, is that we're going to slowly make our way to the hyena den site, aiming to get there in about 15 minutes or so. And that way, hopefully giving a little bit of time for things to change. We did get an update from Craig saying he's just been there about 10 minutes ago and there was no sign of any hyena. I believe Brent is following up on tracks of the male leopard on the eastern part of the Djuma Reserve, and he's going to be focused on that task at the moment. So that's just an update from Brent and his movements, but I'm sure we will get a time to get a proper breakdown of exactly what he's been doing from the man himself. The flies are out in full force this afternoon. So the reason why the hyena den site may not be active now, just to let everyone know, is because the adults will not want to spend too much time around the immediate surroundings of the den, because the cubs will just relentlessly want to play and suckle, and the adults won't get any sleep, so, or time to relax. So the adults tend to come in the early morning and late afternoon to do their nursing before heading out. Just going to check the cracks in this marula tree. There's a few holes, and I've been told that they are bush baby, which are typically nocturnal. There's a few small bush babies that sometimes poke their head out of these holes, and it would be wonderful to see them during the day. And it's somewhere in there. But it's believed to be a combined home for both squirrels and bush babies. I think it was Mark who managed to find some bush babies. And speaking of Mark, he should be arriving at any moment this afternoon, and he'll be on drive tomorrow. I'm not sure whether he'll be on in the morning. He could well be, and it's going to be good to have him back after his leave. And it was him who had the first sighting of these. Come on, Jigger. It's better. So as I was saying, hopefully the adult hyena now will be thinking about returning to the den to allow the cubs to suckle before the adults go out and search for their next meal this evening. The mother was very full-bellied, the one mother, the mother of the largest cub, when we popped in briefly this morning. So she may not need to go out and do any feeding this evening. And I always wonder what the hyena fed on, because it could be so many different scenarios that they would have got their kill, whether they've made it themselves or stolen it from lion or leopard or other hyena, who knows. Go ahead. So it's going to be in just a few moments that we find out whether the adults have in fact returned to this den. So hold your fingers and your breath and whatever else you feel lucky about holding. Come on. Oh, that was an inopportune moment to stall the vehicle. It's not looking promising. There appears to be nobody home. So somewhere in the holes to our right will be where the hyena cubs are now resting. And without the adults around, the cubs are typically too nervous to come out, and rightfully so. Without the protection of their parents nearby, the safest place for them is as far down those burrows as they can get. Well, we're going to continue, do a loop around, and maybe even stop by at the other den sites just before we assume fully that they have moved to this current den. The den that we are looking at now, they only moved to a few days ago. They have spent time here in the past. The last time they were seen here was in kind of December. And we're not sure whether they have come back here full time or if they just stopped off here on the way to another den site. But they do have another den site. Excuse me, I just swallowed a fly that I had to get rid of quickly. And it could very well be that they are back at the other den site. Sorry, that swallowing of the fly distracted me a little bit. But that is what we're going to do. We're going to... Oh no. No, yeah, we'll head off to the other den site. Yeah. And we'll return here a little bit later in the hope that the adults have returned. You see an adult? So one of the cubs did just poke its head out, but we are not going to hang around because we don't want the cubs to be lured into a false sense of protection. And that is why I tried to secretly not tell any of you, but VM didn't know the game plan, so he kind of spoiled that. But I just thought it would be easier to sneak off without telling you that the cub was there, because as soon as I saw it I did want to move out, because if the cub, who is now relaxed with us already and come up very inquisitively to the vehicles, if it came out and something snuck up on it and grabbed it, we would all feel very guilty. So that is why I'd rather come back later. Well, that wasn't a stall. The vehicle has just cut out. But we'll freewheel for as long as we can. Copy, thanks. Let's give it one last try. Chiga, come on. So, evidently we are having some vehicle difficulties again, and Brent is off the vehicle following up on tracks, so we're not going to rush over to them just yet, but he should be back any moment. And then it appears that he will be finishing off this afternoon's drive unless we can get to the bottom of this problem. But I am no mechanic. I will not try and fool you. Go ahead. Just got a question through from Brenda, asking how hyena would be able to make kills, because their claws aren't very sharp, so they wouldn't be able to latch onto their prey like lion or leopard would. But cheetah also don't have very sharp claws, neither do wild dog, and cheetah will often, I'm changing the subject, but cheetah will often trip up their prey, as will wild dog, and hyena can do the same thing. They can try and trip up their prey or simply latch onto them with their jaws, and they've got some of the strongest jaws out here, the hyena, designed mainly for crunching through bones, but of course they can be used to latch onto prey. So It is a good point, but there's a lot of other apex predators, i.e. the wild dog and cheetah, that also don't have sharp claws like lions or leopards do. Okay, well, Liam's going to pan across to the sunset behind those clouds and trees. Unless you've seen something else in there. Have you seen something else in there, Liam?
No.
Well, I'm going to pop the hood, or bonnet as we call it here in South Africa, and just have a look around, but I'm doubting I'm going to find anything.
Found a snake skin.
Did you?
Check that tree.
Oh, well done, Liam. Well spotted, buddy. Okay. I think I found the problem here, Liam. Well, it appears that I have found the problem, and it was a part that the mechanic realized was old and on its way out, but sadly we didn't have the part here with us to change it while he was changing the original problem, and it now appears that the problem that he was aware of, possibly going to cause trouble for us, has done so in a very short space of time, and that is why we are stuck here. Go ahead, Nikki. Not a bad place to be stuck, though. Okay, we've just got a question through from Raymond. Good afternoon, Raymond, and I hope you're well. Raymond's interested to know what exactly it was that caused me to want to become a game ranger or wildlife or safari guide when I was growing up. And I cannot pinpoint any one specific event, Raymond, but what I can tell you is that I was very fortunate in my upbringing, and I was spoilt with many holidays into places like the Kruger National Park, where I would come with my family. You can drive yourself there, so you just pack the car full of all of your groceries and clothes and everything you need, and you drive through the Kruger at your own speed, doing whatever you want, checking the map, choosing which waterholes to go and check out, and then doing your own self-catering in the evenings, or sometimes stopping at the little restaurants in the various rest camps within the Kruger. And there's also other parks within South Africa where I went growing up, and that, I guess, allowed me the opportunity to see how awesome it is and experience the adventure and excitement of seeing animals and looking for them, and also immersing myself with the birds and the trees. And so I guess all of that, along with my friends, spending a lot of time fishing and on friends' farms when I was growing up and at high school, all helped lead to that. I mean, even the boarding school that I went to had a game reserve on it. There were leopard that occurred there, but they were never really seen. So no other real predators other than jackal, but we had a lot of general game, zebra, giraffe, wildebeest, and that was our playground at school. So very, very spoilt, but that certainly did help me keep in touch with nature throughout my childhood and up even through high school. And then, yeah, the final straw, it's quite interesting. When I kind of started getting a little bit older, around 17, 18, I didn't really know whether I wanted to commit to the bush or work in the city and try and make mountains of money. And I kind of had this mountains of money idea in the foreground until I went on a birthday holiday to a friend's game farm. And I had such a good time there. And her sister, who worked at a camp nearby to us in the Sabi Sands, also noticed that I had such a great time and also knew more than your average city folk would know about the bush. And she actually suggested that I go to their lodge and apply to become a ranger there. So that's what I did, and I didn't get the job. So then I went to another lodge and got a job there, and the rest is history. But it certainly did help having a good friend of mine's sister suggesting that I should come and work in the industry, and she really got me psyched up about it and knew a lot about it from behind the scenes. So she was able to give me great insight into the career that it would lead to, and she certainly didn't tell me that I'd be presenting live safaris, but it's kept me out in the bush, and I'm very, very happy to be here. Well, it sounds like Brent is back on the vehicle, and I hope he's got some good news. He would have been, obviously, tracking this leopard that he was hoping to find, and he really is ruthless when it comes to tracking, and he doesn't give up when he finds the tracks of animals. So that's what you've got to look forward to now, and we'll get a link across to him at any moment. Okay, folks, well, Brent is ready, and we'll see you later.
They're broken down. Welcome back, guys. So we found tracks of that leopard we were looking for, and he crossed into the bush around here. I think he's heading towards the drainage line. The last tracks we had were about 250 meters into the bush on the to the south of us, but general direction was sort of almost due south. You can see that big tree. We've had the last tracks we had were on the other side of that big tree, heading down towards the Mawati. And they were fresh. We must have missed them by a minute while we're talking about baobabs. Scott G. dropping. Copy that next. I just need to know where he was for later. Copy. It's been giving us a little run around with those tracks. That is correct. And we've got a Natal Franklin having a little dust bath. And those last set of birds that made all the noise were arrow marked babblers. Negative. Negative. Nikki, I'm copying you 1 out of 5. Just stand by till I'm out of the drainage.
you tell if this is a male or female?
I think you can. Let's have a look. Have a look at the feet. Go close up on the feet. There's my bird book. I guess this looks like a female. So if you look, it's got those spurs on the back of the feet, and the males is a bit much more pronounced. It doesn't say in the book, but the males generally have a far more pronounced spur on the back of their legs that they use for fighting. Sounds like my starter motor is giving me a little bit of trouble. That was a little bit worrying. Just got some tracks here I wanted to look at. And where did I go? Nope, not leopard tracks. Follow a little patch. When I've lost quarantine in that area before, and I think this is quarantine judging from the tracks and the fact that Djuma was seen earlier this afternoon, it tends to pop out in this general area. So I'm just going to take a quick squiz around here. Obviously not always, but quite often. Next you copy. Okay, great. I'm reading you much better now. You can go ahead. Confirm what the answer was. Thank you. Well done, Anne and Charlie. Those are the first answers that were correct, and it was indeed a brown hooded kingfisher. There was a really good response. A lot of you got it right, but unfortunately we can't mention everyone. going to check to the corner where there's a large animal park that comes out of this myriad of little drainage systems that's to the north of us here. Those of you watching a couple of days ago, we lost quarantine in some really thick and steep drainage lines. That was this area here, and then we got lucky and found his bomb on the road a bit later. I heard some Franklin sounding a little bit upset. 90% of the time it's nothing, but it's always worth checking. About here. Over, I'm aware, thank you. Copy next, I'll try him a bit farther. Oh, no luck. I think we do another last loop down. starting to get a little chilly. I am a big softie when it comes to the cold though.
Where were you born, Brent?
I was born in Pietermaritzburg, so I shouldn't be as soft with the temperature. But I've been living in warm places for a long time. We moved to Zululand when I was very young, and that's warm. Close to the beach.
What do you think the temperature is now?
I'd probably say it's similar to what it was this morning. 18. What do you think?
Yeah, around 65 Fahrenheit.
Yeah, 65 Fahrenheit, around 18 degrees C. But for me, it's cold. It's definitely not warm. Or cool. The year I lived in the rainforest, it never even got this cool for a year.
Well, the body doesn't understand that. Eh?
Go on, pop out, Mr. Q. guys, doesn't look like he's come out of that very big, thick block with that myriad of little drainage lines. So I'm going to slowly start. I'm going to check one little section more along the Molwati here. I'm going to slowly start making my way towards Scott. See if I can pull him home again. It's becoming a habit. Oh, shame. Hopefully it's not a major problem and we can get it fixed. Lickety split. Wonderful pastel colors in the sky. Looks like a lot of this cloud cover could be moving off. Make me happier and a bit more sunshine in the morning. Oh, it was a great afternoon. Nice eddies and I'm sure a really nice leopard with Scott and nice viewing. Unfortunately we couldn't find that other leopard, but there's always tomorrow. So we are nearly at nearly where Scott is. Oh, I don't know, 30, 40 seconds. Copy. Look what we found. Look what we found. Out here in the bush. I thought you were a mechanic.
We were, but we forgot the toolbox.
If
If we had a toolbox, it would have been good. Hello, everyone.
So everyone, from both of us here, we're gonna say good night. We're gonna try to get this vehicle home and get it fixed for morning. But it's been a great afternoon, and thanks for joining us, and hopefully you join us again in the morning. So wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful evening from me.
And also from us, thanks very much for joining in, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. And thanks for coming to rescue us, Brent.
My pleasure. Cheers,
Bye.
guys.